Well, you're about to meet the woman who just took over our United States Senate. In fact, this unelected official is calling the shots from behind the scenes, and the GOP is just literally sitting there twiddling their thumbs. I mean, I'm already pretty upset with Congress, but this is crossing the line, and you guys need to know what's going on. Take a look at what I'm talking about here. This is on zerohedge.com. Republicans scramble after Senate parliamentarian nixes deep cuts from big, beautiful bill. It isn't just rogue judges subverting the will of the people. The Republicans' big, beautiful bill was dealt a major blow on Thursday after the Senate parliamentarian gutted 9 major provisions, including in GOP efforts to cut $250 billion in Medicaid and other health care spending. It goes on. Democrat parliamentarian Elizabeth McDonoghue's latest ruling include major pieces of Medicaid policy, including a plan to reduce federal expenses by cracking down on a state provider tax, which would have had a 9-figure impact on the bill. That's going to become important later. But here's what she struck down. Immigrant Medicaid eligibility, prohibiting Medicaid and CHIP from funding gender-affirming care, restricting certain states from increasing taxes on providers, limiting non-citizen immigrants from qualifying for premium tax credits or cost-sharing reductions, disallowing premium tax credits during periods of Medicaid ineligibility due to immigration status. Okay. In other words, you and I have to continue to foot the bill for Medicaid for illegal immigrants and all these other extra things that they do. I mean, this is absolute insanity. Now, I love the way Laura Weiss puts it here. She goes, the Senate parliamentarian just struck a massive blow to Republicans' Medicaid cuts per announcement from Senate budget Democrats. And all of this is being done in the name of not being compliant with the Byrd rule. And I'm going to get into what the Byrd rule is because this Democrat is completely off of her rocker about what she is saying applies to that. But meanwhile, speaking of this Byrd rule, the Senate parliamentarian also included, you ready for this? Easing of regulations for silencers and some guns, new tax credit for scholarship granting organizations, and religious school carve-out in endowment tax. So these are the other things that she's kind of said, oh, you don't have a right to touch those. We're going to just take those out of the bill. Now, what is the Byrd rule? I put this in ChatGTP and just a real simple version of it. The Byrd rule says only items that directly affect the federal budget, like taxes or spending, can be in a reconciliation bill. Anything extraneous, right, unrelated to the budget, gets tossed out. It's named after Senator Robert Byrd and is used to keep lawmakers from sneaking unrelated policies into fast-tracked budget bills. The problem is her entire Byrd rule for these Medicaid cuts is moot because we're saving taxpayer dollars. I believe it was billions of taxpayer dollars. It was a 9-figure impact on the bill. The stuff that she's trying to get rid of. And she's trying to make the claim that this has nothing to do with the budget, like taxes and spending. My keister, like literally. And here's the problem that we're going to have with this Byrd bill. In order to override the Byrd rule in the U.S. Senate, it takes 60 votes. That's a 3/5 majority to waive the rule and allow a provision to stay in a reconciliation bill if it's challenged as erroneous. 60 senators. The next question is, well, how many senators do we actually have right now? Well, 53 Republicans and 45 Democrats and 2 independents. Even if, by golly, the independents went with us, we wouldn't have enough Republicans in the Senate to overcome that. Now, we do have options, but unfortunately, it seems our GOP and our leaders in the Senate have been taken over by this young woman who is BSing about what the Byrd rule actually is. She's making her own rules. You can throw anything in that you want. And it just so happens to be political things that are in line with the Democrats that she's weeding out of the bill. Only those things that the Democrats don't like. Coincidence? Absolutely not. So obviously, a lot of our leaders are ticked off about this. Here's Coach Tommy Tuberville, United States Senator from the great state of Alabama, the woke Senate parliamentarian who was appointed by Harry Reid and advised Al Gore, just struck down a provision banning illegals from stealing Medicaid from American citizens. This is an example of why Americans hate what is going on. This is an unelected bureaucrat. Here's another one here. Congressman Greg Stube, right, representing Florida's Suncoast. How is it that an unelected swamp bureaucrat who was appointed by Harry Reid over a decade ago gets to decide what can and cannot go in Trump's big, beautiful bill? Again, she's not elected. She's not accountable to the American people, yet somehow she holds veto power over the legislation of millions of voters. I think if we're going to have somebody like that, she should at least, him or her, whoever is in that position, be elected in, or we just get rid of that position altogether. Now, Congressman Greg Stube is also calling for this. He goes, it's time for our elected leaders to take back control. J.D. Vance should overrule the parliamentarian and let the will of the people, not some staffer hiding behind Senate procedures, determine the future of this country. Here is Representative Scott Perry. First, it was the judges. Now the Senate parliamentarian allegedly off the rails, getting in the way of the 1BBB, right, that we cast our vote for. And then we have Representative Dan Crenshaw. I hate the hell out of Dan Crenshaw, but I agree with him on this. It is time to fire the Senate parliamentarian, Elizabeth McDonough. This is not about partisanship. It's about the rule of law. She has failed to apply the rules of reconciliation accurately on multiple occasions. John Thune should fire her now. And that's the case. None of what she said actually lines up with the rule of the Byrd rule. It's BS. None of the rules apply to the stuff that she is saying they apply to, right? There is precedence for this, right? Now he's calling for her firing. And there is precedence for this because it has happened before. The Senate parliamentarian was fired in 2001 by the then Senate Majority Leader Trent Lott. I think she needs to be fired. And of course, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene also went off. The unelected Senate parliamentarian just ruled against throwing illegal aliens off of American taxpayer-funded Medicare and Medicaid and stopping CHIP and Medicaid from funding gender health care or whatever. You know, there's one little problem with this, is Thune is in on it. And he's supposed to be on our side. So much for that. The Washington Examiner, Thune rejects GOP calls to sideline Senate parliamentarian. Senate Majority Leader John Thune is rebuffing an upswell in anger at the Senate's parliamentarian after she dealt a blow to major elements of the Republicans' tax bill. It would be a mistake to overrule her, Thune told reporters on Thursday after she struck Medicaid reforms designed to recoup hundreds of billions of dollars in savings. That would not be a good outcome for them getting a bill done, Thune said. If it's going to save us hundreds of billions of dollars, then it has everything to do with the bill. So where are we at? Since she seems to have taken over our U.S. Senate, and they're allowing it, Thune is like, yeah, what are our options, right? Because right now, we've got options, right? Now, our Republicans can try to rework the provider language. You know, we can find a solution and then, you know, give it back to her. That's something. I'm not sure how that's going to work. But there's other things that they can do. Number one, J.D. Vance can just choose to ignore it. Hey, it's just advice. We don't have to listen to this advice that was given. We can ignore it. And I say absolutely ignore it, right? It can be unusual, but we need to ignore it. The second thing we can do, as I stated earlier, we can fire the woman. This has already happened back in 2001. So our leader, Mr. John Thune, could request a different parliamentarian to come in or anything of that nature and get her fired. Why aren't we doing that? We did it in 2001. This lady is corrupt. She obviously is putting politics first because the things she's recommending that have to do with budget, that she's saying don't have to do with budget, absolutely have to do with budget. We're going to save a lot of money. We shouldn't be paying Medicare, Medicaid, any of that for illegal immigrants when Americans are not even getting coverage. We're the ones paying into the system. They're not. I mean, this is just insanity. Insanity. So answer me. Do you agree with me that this shadow bureaucracy is literally shutting down our entire leadership in Congress, specifically the Senate, and they're just allowing it to happen? I mean, I really don't see any other way that it can be seen unless J.D. Vance gets up there and does something about it, or John Thune fires her. We should just ignore it or fire her. I think that's our option on the table, and I think it's a dang good option. But with all of that, as a reminder, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you guys subbed here and hit that like button. But more importantly, get to restrictedrepublic.com. I've got lots of information on here that you're not getting here, right? Very controlled information that you get on YouTube. And I don't keep anything from you. I tell you the full truth and nothing but the truth. So please go to restrictedrepublic.com right now. Sign up there. Use the coupon code FOREVER50, right? And you can get Restricted Republic on the annual rate. Make sure you select the annual rate for $50 per year. Way less than that $5 per month range. I believe it's $4 and something on average. But get there, support what we do, and come to Restricted Republic and get the information you're not getting on these controlled platforms. Anyhow, with all of that, I love you all. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.